This podcast may contain paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap podcast, where I discuss the nuts and bolts of business and leadership, with a focus on bootstrapping a business from the ground up. This podcast is for all entrepreneurs, bootstrappers, and leaders in all walks of life. My goal is to help you grow both personally and professionally. I am your host, Isaiah O'Connor. Hello, everyone. Isaiah here again with the O'Connor Bootstrap video/podcast. Welcome to my little show here. Do apologize, forgot to upload on Thursday, but here we go. Here now. We'll fix that today. So let's jump into this. Sorry, I don't have a lot of visuals today for the video guys, for the audio guys, no problem. So anyway, I'm going to jump into this and continue with my series on required secondary powers, or you just might call them other character traits and attributes that you would want to develop, strengthen, or have innately to become a successful businessman, entrepreneur, bootstrapper, and just a more successful person in general. People have these qualities. So today we'll be talking about determination and how important it is to have that determination not to give up and push through and get through to your goals, to hit those goals, to grow your business, to start your business, etc. So I'm going to use my blog post I wrote this as a bit of a reference, and yeah, here we are. So I start my blog by talking about the honeymoon phase of a business. As I mentioned before, business can be a lot like a marriage. Initially, the honeymoon stage, it gets you going through all those little bumps and craziness in the beginning. And there's a lot of it. Now, especially if you're a bootstrapper, because this is a bootstrap podcast, I started off with the very naive idea that all I needed was a website, a bag of balloons, some business cards, and a balloon pump. And I was good to start a business because, hey, I knew how to do the balloons. I knew I needed a website. I knew I needed business cards, and I know sales, and I knew how to manage a retail store. Now, granted, managing a retail store is a good baseline, good thing to do. You learn customer service, you know how to make sales, all that good stuff. But you need more than just management skills to run a business. Found that out the hard way. Found out I need to figure out accounting. I am not a naturally good accountant. I'm not naturally good at numbers. So accounting was a struggle to figure out for me. And then I figured out that sales is great, but if you don't know how to market, it's really hard to sell if you don't get customers in the door from marketing to begin with. So you have sales issues, marketing. I had a lot to learn. But it was really bumpy. But hey, I was a business owner. I got excited at that. But when things started going really rough, and the first year went by, didn't make hardly any money. The second year went by, almost made no money. My wife was pushing me to quit. My family was pushing me to quit. And that was going to be a lot harder to push through to get to the end because I was real panicked. I didn't know what to do. I was stressed. And then to top things off, before I had a chance to really figure out any of this, I lost my job. The place I was working at went bankrupt. So the very little money I had, because it was just a part-time job, the little money I did have coming in went away, and all of a sudden I was stuck with this and or another job. And with another job, I was trying to find another job, but living in Norway and not speaking fluent Norwegian and thinking to myself that I could only use my job skills, that the only skills I thought were marketable were my customer service and sales skills and management skills, and you need a high level of Norwegian to do that. I was stuck. Now, I was wrong in that, and I'll talk about that on a later episode. It's in the works, but the point being is I had to stick through really hard and push through. It's not fun. You yelled at me there. So times were really hard. I wanted to quit. And yeah, I am naturally mule-headed, pretty stubborn, pretty determined guy. Just comes naturally. So I didn't quit. But I also had to really push through and make the choice to be determined. Now, here's something I've noticed interesting about these character traits. To be a giver, to be determined, to be a learner, have a teachable spirit. These are all character traits, partly character traits, but these are things you can also choose to do. You can actively choose to be more determined. You can make the choice and then do it. And the more you do it, the better you get. It kind of strengthens some sort of inner muscle in your brain, and you get better and better at it as you go. So you have to push through, and it's not always easy. Now, there's been times that I've tried to give up hope. I've struggled with depression. Through COVID was really rough. Man, I lost almost all, like 80% of my business, coming off a rough year to begin with. Had virtually no income. My wife had lost her job. We had a huge total. Coming into COVID, we had a 60% loss in pay before COVID hit. And then I lost another 20-30% of that from my business. We were really struggling. And it was hard to push through, but I did push through COVID, and my business coming through. And it was not easy. And I have multiple COVID. If you go back to the podcast, I have multiple COVID era, as it were, height of the pandemic, posts talking about pushing through the hardships. So, but you have to decide to keep going. And every single day you have to do it. It's a daily choice. You have to choose to be determined. You have to get up and go, okay, today I'm going to be a determined guy. I'm going to go through. I'm going to push through. I'm going to go back. And if you're really struggling and it's really hard, you don't feel like being determined. You don't feel like pushing through. You want to give up. You want to quit. But you have to make that choice. And every time you make that choice, it's a little bit easier. So yeah, if you're in business, if you're a leader, guess what? If you're in life, guess life will kick you in the teeth. Life can be hard. It's not always going to be easy. If it's always easy, something's either really, really right or really, really wrong. So yeah, you got to push through. And just to sum up with this, because I come back and I hit this subject many, many more times about being determined. So this is so important. But to save time today, I'm just going to end with this. I heard a preacher once say this: if you're going through hell, don't stop. Matter of fact, COVID era, I did a whole podcast on this very subject of when things are going hard, if you stop, you're going to sit right in the middle of the mess and things will just get worse and worse and worse. You have to push through to get out to the other side. And again, not always easy, but you have to choose. And if you can choose this, and if you can develop this and you can be determined to make it through, that will lead to a high amount of success. You need to be determined in order to succeed in business, especially as a bootstrapper, as an entrepreneur, because getting through that first few months after the fun wears off, it's really, really hard. This is probably why a large percentage of small businesses, don't make it past the first couple of years or so, because it's really hard and you have to really push through until you start seeing the real big results. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye-bye. If you found value in this content, please leave a comment and give us a 5-star rating on whichever podcast platform you use. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most other podcast platforms. If you would like to support us, you can check out our sponsor links, or if you would like to directly support the show, you can donate or join our membership program at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap. Of course, it really helps when you share these podcasts as well. If you would like to interact with me and other bootstrappers and leaders, you can join our O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast Facebook group. You have been listening to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast and Atheoz Business Solutions Podcast. For our companion podcast, the Atheoz Business Podcast, hosted by Jason St. Clair, past episodes, and related blogs, check out our website at www.atheoz.com, which is www.atheoz.com. Atheoz.com or Atheoz.com. Until next time, I've been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor.